Welcome to the Making of Me podcast, where we explore the moment that shape us today into who we have become. Today we are joined by Massimo Rigotti, an author, entrepreneurs, an addiction recovery advocate. He's creator of Sober Method, a unique approach that help people build confidence, maintain sobriety, and transform their life from battling addiction and bipolar disorder towards building his life across multiple industries. Massino's stories is the testament of resilience, courage, and the hope over the next hour. We hear about the challenge he faced and the lesson he learned and the insights he shared to help others to actually more like recover with confidence. It's really a pleasure to have you on the show. You
Well,
know,
thank you so much for the introduction. I appreciate it.
yeah, thank you so much. Thomas, how was it like? What were some of our moments or challenges that shape you into who you have become today?
I think the single largest thing that shaped me was losing everything and ending up living on the streets. It forced me to relook at everything about myself and what had got me there and how I was going to rebuild myself from the ground up. Nothing will shape you faster than being stripped of everything that makes you who you
Yeah.
were.
Wow, that was really a whole lot. So, what was it like that moment you lost everything? How did you make the decision to change from how it was before towards more like what you have become today?
Actually, it was a longer process than one would think. So I ended up homeless in December of 2014, and I was homeless until late March of 2016. So that was a long period of time, 16 months of being on the street. And most of that
Hmm.
I was completely dedicated to my addiction. So addiction took me there, uh, hard drugs. And I was just determined that, that's fine. I'm just going to live this life. And I had to look at what I was doing to myself and truly decide that I wanted to live, that I wanted to restore myself to a better version than I'd ever been before. And that requires taking a very hard look at who you are and deciding that you want to live. Because if you don't make that decision, you're just going to willow away and
Yeah.
ultimately die, unfortunately. But that's kind of the path that you're on when you're slowly killing yourself. That's what addiction is,
Yeah.
unless you're
Wow.
willing to heal.
So, you have created the sober mentor. How did that idea came about, and what's make you decide to turn your experience into a framework for others?
Well, once I was sober, I got there through going to rehab, and then ultimately I went to AA meetings, and I was sober, but I was just like, is this it? This is all there is to being sober. I'm going to talk about how I used to be an addict. And that just didn't seem like a solution that I wanted to look ahead. I wanted to get better. I wanted to feel like I was doing something with my life, that my life would have greater meaning than it did before. And the only way I could figure out how to do that was to take my mind and decide I was going to treat it like some sort of machine. And I was going
Yeah.
to gradually improve my mind until it was stronger and stronger. And that's what the SOBER method does. And SOBER stands for Stoic, Observe, Behavior, Execute, and Restore. And it works in a continuous improvement cycle. So you start with one aspect of who you are in Stoicism, reflecting on it, observe the behavior that comes from that. You remap the behavior, you test it and execute, and then ultimately, if everything works well, you've restored that one part of you, and then you go and you try to fix something different and new that you're struggling with. So this is, I mean, that's a very high level of how the system works, but the framework allows it to be very personalized to who you are. It's not a one size fits all type of solution like so many are. This is really looking at you, and what will work for you will be completely different for somebody else in the sober method. And that's what makes the journey so really kind of cool and unique.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Because I'm just wondering what that 60 months was like living without living on the streets. Yeah, it's really a whole lot, and I'm just the imagination of it alone is really really scary. Which I didn't know how you did it, and I'm glad that you are able to do what you do today after those particular events came into being. Going through addiction and recovery must have changed your perspective How has that experience influenced the way you work with others?
It has profoundly changed the way that I look at the world and how I observe how everyone moves within it, and seeing the
Mm,
interconnectivity between all of us, and understanding that very small things that we do to each other can have very large impacts that are not always recognized. We don't always know where people are coming from every day, and you might see someone who's upset and you're like, why are you so upset? Well, something might be really tragic that just happened to them. Approaching people in more open ways is one of the things that I think can have the greatest impact. And it's how I
yeah,
carry myself today, is recognizing that we don't know where the person standing in front of us, anything that happened to them in their past. And you have to be open to understanding that whenever you meet somebody new.
yeah, amazing, amazing. You have to be very open to that possibility whenever you meet someone new, rather than just having more like a framework of who that person is without having to meet them or there. Yeah, that's a whole lot of lessons to learn. So, is there a lesson from your recovery that you find yourself applying consistently in your professional life today?
I think the biggest thing, look and say, hey, look, I've made this much progress in the last 9 months. I know I will be able to hit my goal in 15 more months. I mean, it
Yeah,
might sound like a long timeline, but at the end of it, if you can hold on to the grit, backed by hope. I hope that I can get there, and I have the grit that I'm going to survive through it. You'll turn anything into reality, and that's something that I think that everybody can learn, whether you struggle with addiction or not, because everybody wants something in their life, wants to change something about themselves, or
yeah,
wants to achieve some goal. And what I'm teaching here can apply to anyone. And I think it could have really profound impact on anyone if they apply those types of philosophies into their life.
yeah, amazing, great. I think great is really a powerful thing that for every business that have got to be sustainable today, it's the fact that they apply grades at every one point or the other. When it seems the business is not going to work, the customer does not seem to need their product, where it seems they're going to lost a whole lot of their money while doing that particular business, where it look as though the whole world was crunchy as them, is the fact that they actually were like have a little article of what's a great, and that is the changing factor because I was I was reading a particular work the other day and I was making reference of the fact that um business at the end of the day is the last man standing, not just the person who know how to put everything that need to put up, but the person who can be able to just a little bit more staying consistent when it does not make sense, when there is no meaning in what one does. Over time it compound and we came to appreciate it, not knowing that great what keep that particular person's going in the dark days, and yeah, and when things seems not to work at all. And just hear you make reference of great, I'm like, ouch, ouch.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes. You said it so beautifully there. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And it's just like anytime the Olympics, of course, are just
yeah,
wrapping up. And so it's a perfect time to look at. So often you're like, that they're so incredible. Look at that. Well, that
mm,
incredible that you're seeing is 10, 12, 15 years of constant grit.
yeah,
I mean, where days where there was no progress, or the progress went backwards, and to stick with it.
yeah,
And so what you said about business, yeah, what you see at the finish line, those are the people that had the staying power to keep pushing and changing and making modifications to make sure that they made it. And that's
yeah.
exactly what I've done. Otherwise, I'd still be living on the street or not alive.
Ouch. Yeah, really amazing. It's really amazing. And I think there's a particular book I read the other day that speak even more volumes to this. That at the end of the day, the difference between those that succeed is not the intelligence, it's not the education, not yeah, it's not anything you can actually peg it to one or the other. It's more of grit. It's more of staying tuned to something even if it doesn't work longer enough, then it starts working. And it really just captured everything because it was making reference of it that yes, there are a whole lot of educated derelict out there who are educated, but they don't have any strength of grit to actually stay put before it thing just got to start working. And if you can't wait, the result is not more of saying the 10 business I tried 10 business and none of them work. No, it's more of saying I tried various other ones, but I was able to stay true to discover what worked. So it's amazing.
Yes, yes. Very, very, very well said. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's whoever is going to put in the effort is going to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very,
Yeah,
very,
thank you.
very insightful. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So life isn't always easy. How do you stay consistent when things get overwhelmed or when distraction creep in?
I try to reflect immediately, and sometimes that does grip me. And one of the ways that I ensure that I can do it is I journal, so I
Mm,
can look back at my journal and say, okay, well, you're feeling this way. Let's look at how it was 8 years ago.
yeah.
And I could just flip back and just read a
Oh,
couple pages of a journal and go, okay, I'm doing really, really good today. Never mind. And it will snap me back. But if I don't have it handy, then the immediately what I do is I will try to remember a time where I was struggling with the same thing and
mm,
what was that like and how did I react to it. So I try to replay it in my mind,
mm,
and that often will show me that, well, wait, that was a poor way to do it. You already know a better way to do it, so you're
yeah.
doing better than you were. It's all about comparison, and when you compare yourself to others, comparison is definitely the thief of joy,
Yeah,
because
the
you're like,
tip of
oh, I could
yeah.
be better. Oh, look at that person, they're better than me. But if you compare yourself to yourself, then it has the opposite effect, because we tend to be very hard on ourselves,
Yeah.
and we don't give ourselves enough grace to recognize the path that we've already walked. And once you
Mm,
do that, it's very easy to keep walking the path and not be depressed about where you're at, because you can
yeah.
truly see where you've been.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I think this really, yeah, this really speaks volumes to, yeah, being able to kind of stay true, and the fact that involving imagination even make it more easier, being that sometimes when you are discouraged, when you get to involve imagination through your journals and everything, reality does not know the difference between imagination and actually real. And when you get to trigger it and just imagine it, it's, yeah, you become, it look as though you are in that particular moment, and a whole lot of intriguing things start coming into being. And yeah, you could feel the emotions. You could feel what you could do different, and you could feel, yeah, and the result of what that decision is going to be. That will make you reframe
Yeah.
or actually get to invest in it, and it's really amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, yeah. And so support system can make a huge difference. How did your network help you along the way, and what advice will you give to someone trying to build theirs?
The people around you, the saying that you often hear is that you're a reflection of the five closest
Yeah,
people around you.
perfect.
That's the line. But I always thought that was really cliche and silly. But there's a lot of truth to that. There really is,
Mm,
because if you look at the people you spend time with, you tend to emulate them. You tend to aspire to be
yeah,
them. And so one bit of advice that I give people a lot, and it's a hard one to take, even myself. Sometimes you will outgrow your friends. You just simply will outgrow your friends, because your interests, you will strive for better yourself, and your friends will want to remain where they're at. And that's a very tough challenge to face, to realize that I'm still moving forward and this is where they're comfortable. And I will always appreciate this person, but I probably need to start spending time with this person over there that really
yeah.
inspires me, right? And that's a tough one. That's a real tough challenge. But what I did in the beginning is I collected, because all of my friends were alcoholics, so it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sober. Let me reassemble some of my friends. That's not going to work. So I reached out to some people who I had known before I ended up being homeless, and asked them if, hey, would you guys want to get together and have like a guys' night? And there were five of us, and we got together, and everyone knew that they couldn't drink, even though these individuals did drink. They weren't alcoholics, but they socially drank, and they made sure not to drink around me, and we got together once a month. And through that structure, it gave me opportunities, in work opportunities, in investment opportunities, etc. And so over time, some of those friends like left the group, and we added new friends, and it's like
Mm,
evolved over time on
yeah.
who that core group is for me. But it's worked, and it's worked very well. And I think that the thing that I've done that most people are afraid to do is say that it's okay to be friendly with somebody, but they're not in your core friend group anymore. That's tough.
Yeah, so true, so true. And it's amazing just having friends and being able to kind of build that structures. So a big part of your work is helping people to in discovering their own flavor of confidence. What does that process look like, and how do you guide them through it?
Everybody has a core talent, and
Yeah,
oftentimes people don't know what it is. Instead they're like, well, I was told this. I was really good at sports, but they hate sports, for instance. We'll just use that as an analogy. Like, you're really good at soccer, but I absolutely hate soccer. Well, what are you interested in? And oftentimes you'll find your interest will follow what will build you that greatest source of confidence. And once you find that core, like your core belief and your core value, then you start framing up your own view of yourself in this new way. So oftentimes what I find when I work with people is that they have a different image of themselves from the image they like project to the world.
yeah,
So because they have been told, oh, you're the smart one, or you're the cute one, or like, I don't want to be known as the cute one, I'm the smart one. You know what I mean? Like, people get these, and parents and do a very, I guess we would say, good job of kind of labeling kids as you're coming up. And so your parent, says, well, you're this. I'm like, but I'm not that. So you have to kind of get rid of that and
yeah,
restructure yourself so you understand who you are. And I don't think most people know who they are. And that's the really interesting thing to me as I started helping more and more people is it's almost scary to me, the fact that I would say 80% of the people that I talk to have no idea what they actually like and dislike, which is wild.
yeah. So true, so true. It's really wild. Yeah, amazing, amazing. So finally, when people actually hear your stories and learn about sober method, what is one takeaway you hope they live with?
I think the one thing that everyone should take away from me is that absolutely everything is possible in your life,
Mm,
and don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't achieve
yeah.
anything, because the power to do absolutely anything is within each one of us if
Mm,
you know what you want and you have the grit to get you there. It just,
yeah.
anything's possible.
Know what you want and knowing how to get there, and everything is possible. I think this is really reassuring, especially in a world that actually more like label one with depending on your addiction or one thing or the other. Just having a knowing that yes, anything is possible. It's really amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Also, for my audience who want to reach out to you, who want to learn more from you, and who want to get your materials too, or reach out for business, how can they reach out to you, and where's the best platform?
The best way to find everything related to me is go to sobermethod.com, but I am on all socials at sobermethod, and I have an active community on Reddit if you want to reach out and talk with me directly. I love my community over there. My books are available on Amazon. Flavors of Confidence and Sober Method are both out there, or anywhere books are sold, but Amazon seems to be the choice for most.
Yeah, thank you so much. Pleasure more like just sharing your stories, sharing your story. It reminds us that no matter how deep the struggle, growth, and transformation are, it's always possible. Your story shows us that resilience, support, and the right tools, anyone can rise above challenge and discover their own confidence. Yeah, it's really a pleasure once again having you on the Making of Me podcast.
Thank you so much.